Hello all and welcome to our daily news show, The Big Story, where we talk about the hottest topics of the day right in the heart of the newsroom. I'm Kimberly Jiao coming to you live from the Straits Times, and we are streaming on YouTube and Facebook, so do leave us a comment, like and share it with your friends, as well as hit the bell to be told whenever we go live. I'll be joined by a couple of my newsroom colleagues today to discuss what got you talking today. Our first story: all upper primary school pupils will have coding classes from next year as part of the government's goal to develop a healthy pipeline of tech talent for the digital economy. With us to discuss this is ST journalist Haris. Hello.
Hi.
So could you run us through the various announcements that they made during this seminar?
So this seminar you're talking about is the Ministry of Communications and Information Work Plan Seminar.
Right.
So basically this annual seminar is where the Minister and the Ministry will take people through the work that the Ministry will do across the board, like for schools, businesses, and community members. So before I get into the coding story, I'll talk about a few other announcements that were made in the seminar. So one of them is an update about Start Digital, which is an initiative to subsidize the take-up of certain solutions for SMEs. So MCI said that more than 4,000 SMEs have tapped this initiative since the program was launched in January. There's also another announcement of a formation of a new team to look into the security of Singapore's telecommunications ecosystem, in particular 5G, before it's rolled out next year.
I see.
And of course, like you mentioned, the coding in primary schools.
I see. So I understand that it used to be sort of an optional program in 2014. So could we talk a little bit about how it's changed since then?
Sure. So the program, it's called Code for Fun, or CFF for short.
Cute.
It used to be an optional enrichment class for primary school students, and since it was introduced, I think in 2014, MCI said that it's benefited 93,000 students.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty big number. And so now the announcement today is that it's going to be rolled out to all upper primary school students. This coding program, the CFF, will take the form of classes that will add up to 10 hours. And the curriculum will be developed by the Education Ministry as well as the Infocom Media Development Authority, or IMDA. So the crux of this CFF is essentially to sort of introduce coding to these students and to get them, excited about the opportunities that the digital age and I guess something like coding could offer them in the future. So it's about exposing them to the relevant skill sets that will be needed for the potentially lucrative digital economy that Singapore is trying to get into. So it's things like getting into things like computer programming, cybersecurity, engineering, things like that. Yeah, there's also a announcement of a new youth program by the Cybersecurity Agency of Singapore. It's called the Singapore Cyber Youth Program, and it will reach out to 10,000 secondary and tertiary students in the next 3 years to sort of provide them with opportunities to explore what exactly cybersecurity and I guess to get them sensitized to the fact that this is a potential career option for them. They could take it up, maybe courses in polytechnics or universities, or even eventually take up the jobs in that field.
Right.
Yeah.
So give them a taste.
Yeah, and it'll be done through things like, camps and learning journeys, that sort of thing.
I see. So why would you say so many things were introduced?
I think a big theme for this year's work plan especially was digital inclusion, making sure that as Singapore progresses and gets digitalized, no one gets left behind. Yeah, so I think introducing coding in such a young and formative age could be an attempt to nurture that interest in tech-related fields, so that they can, like I said, maybe be interested in taking up studies in that field or even careers in that field in the future.
I see.
Yeah.
So our times are changing basically, and we're getting our youth to keep up with that.
Yes, by learning coding.
Yeah. Thanks, Haris, for sharing more with us.
Sure.
If you'd like to keep up with more of such stories, do head on to www.straitstimes.com. Our second story: fines for traffic offences here should be pegged to the open market value of the offending motorist vehicle, suggested NMP Walter Tessera in Parliament on Monday. With me to discuss this today is Senior Transport Correspondent Christopher Tan. Hello, Chris.
Thank you. Hi.
So this is only one of the suggestions that they made in Parliament, right? But let's talk about it a little bit. What does it mean and where is it coming from?
I suppose it's inspired by practices in the West where a number of countries actually impose fines according to a person's income. What does it mean? For one, it would probably mean more revenue from fines, I think.
Of course.
Yeah.
And you think, what do you personally think about this? I'd like to know.
I think it's problematic in a number of ways because imposing fines on the value of a car, well, a person could have several cars.
Right.
Right. And also I could be driving a friend's car. I could be driving a rental car, right? And also the consequence of bad behavior on the road is the same, whether you drive a Toyota Corolla or a Rolls-Royce Phantom.
The injury is the same.
Yeah, the injuries are the same. So it's a bit problematic to me.
Right.
Yeah. If you try to impose such a progressivity in the fine system.
I mean, if you're driving a Rolls-Royce, if it's a company car, it's not indicative of your personal income and whether you can afford the fine.
Yes, but even if you impose fines according to income, it can be problematic because if I'm not a high earner myself, but a spouse of a high earner, right, or a son of a high earner, then what happens? Or if I am actually a retiree, I have a lot of money, but I don't actually earn, I'm not earning at the moment, then how do you impose that fine? So I think in Singapore's context, you don't really need that because we have a demerit point system, which is actually quite a big deterrent.
Okay.
Right? I mean, 24 points over 2 years and you lose your license. And then for more serious infractions like drunk driving, you get jail time, right? I mean, those kind of things, those kind of punishments are more meaningful. Monetary fines, I think they should be flat, no matter what car you drive, what income you earn.
I see.
Yeah.
So with all these things we've mentioned in mind, right, what have been the responses so far to this?
I would imagine it's always two camps, right? I mean, if you are, I mean, just a member of the public, you say, yeah, maybe we should go that way. But if you say, if you own several cars and high-end cars, I'm sure you'll say, please don't do that.
Do you think this is going to come to fruition?
Well, I don't know, but I hope it wouldn't, for all the reasons I mentioned, right? Yeah, I think if you want progressivity in taxes, yes, I'm all for that. But progressivity in fines, no. I think everybody should be treated equally, whether you are a millionaire or an ordinary wage earner, right? Because the crime, the consequence of the bad behavior or the crime would be the same,
right?
Right.
And
if you hit someone in a Golf or hit someone in a Rolls Royce, he dies, right? Right.
Right. So some people are going to argue that it seems very unfair because it's the same crime, but
exactly what I mentioned.
Exactly, right. So these are going to be the concerns that people are going to raise. So
Yeah.
do you think personally, is it going to come to fruition? What's likely?
Well, I'm not privy to the discussions, but I hope it doesn't.
Okay.
I hope it doesn't.
But it doesn't look like it will, you think?
I don't think it will at this moment, because it is difficult. I mean, of all the difficult scenarios that I mentioned, I mean, you may not be driving your own car. You could be a rental, or it could be one of several cars that you own. Then what? And also, I think the suggestion was to impose fines according to the OMV of the car, the open market value of the car, which is actually not the selling price.
Right.
It is actually the cost price of the car before taxes. And some cars with high OMVs actually have relatively low selling price. I mean, they are not directly correlated. Yeah.
So there are a lot of issues with this actually.
Many issues, yeah.
And I'm sure you guys in the comments down below are also thinking similar things. So if you agree with Chris, you don't agree, please leave them down in the comments down below so we can read them and respond if we will. Thanks, Chris, for clearing this up for us. And if you'd like more updates on this as it develops, do head on to www.straitstimes.com. Our next story, Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad turned 94 today, and amongst those wishing him a happy birthday on social media were his colleagues from the ruling Pakatan Harapan Coalition and our very own PM Lee Hsien Loong. To share more with us is Assistant Foreign Editor Lim Eileen. Hello, Eileen.
Hello.
So how did the world's oldest PM spend his birthday today?
As expected, he spent it working.
Okay.
He had a full schedule in Parliament today. He dealt with Prime Minister's questions. And after that, he dealt with a bill that's coming before Parliament that actually deals with young people looking to lower the voting age from 21 years old currently to 18.
I see.
Yes. And also he, according to the media reports, journalists who were in Parliament managed to sneak in a happy birthday song. They serenaded him outside, at the Parliament lobby, I'm presuming. And he also had a special Radio Bernama interview today where he paid tribute to his mother, Wan Tempawan Wan Hanapi, saying that she was the most influential person in his life.
Oh. Well, even though he is 94, he seems very youthful. So what do you think is his secret?
If we could bottle it, we would make a fortune, Kimberly. His colleagues in Pakatan Harapan say that they have a hard time keeping up with him.
Wow.
He acts more like a 60-year-old rather than a 94-year-old.
Wow.
I remember when he was campaigning in the run-up to elections last year in Kuala Lumpur, so we attended some of the rallies, and he would be standing there addressing a crowd of thousands, standing there for half an hour, 1 hour, talking off the cuff, no notes, never repeating himself.
Wow.
And on election night itself, we were all staying up till 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, because the results were not coming up. He held a press conference the next morning at 11 a.m. He must have had maybe 2 to 3 hours sleep, and I swear he looked 10 years younger. So we don't know how he does it, but he has told the Straits Times before that he is very careful with what he eats. He doesn't overeat, and he believes in keeping active both in terms of his mind. He reads a lot, as well as keeping active physically. I think last year he was still driving around the Sepang race circuit in a Ferrari. So yeah, I don't know how fast he was going, but you know, that in my mind that's an achievement in itself.
Yeah.
He keeps a fairly busy schedule on a daily basis. He works from 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay. Well.
His wife apparently makes sure that he gets enough rest. But don't forget, his wife herself, she is turning 93 years old in 2 days' time. So Tun Dr. Siti Hasma herself is a very youthful 90-year-old. And finally, this is a tip, I don't know if it works, but last year the pharmacies in Malaysia ran out of Berocca, the vitamin supplement, because he said that that's what he takes.
Right. So like you said, if we could bottle it, we would make a fortune.
Yes, yes.
So do we know what he wished for his birthday?
He wrote on his Facebook page, and he said it was a very simple wish, and that was for him to finish his work setting Malaysia on the road to recovery.
Wow.
And he also said on his Facebook page that it was a privilege and honor to serve the country.
I see. Well, happy birthday to Dr. Mahathir, and thanks Eileen for sharing more with us. If you'd like more stories like this, do stay tuned to www.straitstimes.com. And those were our top stories of the day. Thank you for watching The Big Story. Once again, I'm Kimberly, and we'll see you tomorrow.